Hi, everybody. Welcome to Discover College Soccer. Today, I'm lucky enough to be joined by Coach Julio from Ranger College in Texas. Welcome, Coach.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you for having me. We're very honored as our soccer program to be on our podcast. So
Well,
thank you.
the honor's all mine, and somehow I wore purple today, and it just made sense, I guess. So we're
Yes,
we're,
sir.
we're all set. Well, hey, thanks for jumping on. I think you guys just wrapped up both seasons, right, for the men and the
Ye-
women. Is that right?
Yes, sir. We did. The women's, both teams made it to the conference finals. Women's, unfortunately, we lost 1-0, a close match against Hill College. And then the men's are still going. We won the conference with the men's. We won in PKs, and we play our district finals. On Friday, this Friday at Tarleton University. So if we win, we go to the national tournament. So we're looking
Awesome.
forward.
Well,
So,
good luck. Good luck. Well, it is November. It's a lot of seasons are wrapping up. Um, you know, just out of curiosity, do you spend really any time during your season on recruiting for the next year? And if so, maybe give me a percentage as to how much time that is.
yes, that's a great question. Also, when you have two programs, it's very difficult because you've got practice after practice. Of course, team meetings. You have to do team meetings, two team meetings, and in terms of recruiting, I think we're able to manage it. And how we recruit as well. I think that's very important because we do recruit internationally as well as here in the States as well. I think with the internationals, it kind of makes it a little bit more easy in terms of that because we do get a lot of video and we do have some connections, some very good relationships with some agencies out of the country. So you could watch a video, whenever practice is over or when you have a little bit of time, I'm able to watch a video and see if I like a kid or if I don't. And then with the American side, usually with the kids that are in state, how I usually do it, I think for the women's, I try to go to as many showcases as possible. Of course, in the summer, I really try to do it in the summer. There's some, just tournaments, ECNL's tournaments that I go to, and I'll see a kid and I'll get their information real quick when they're a junior going into their senior. And usually I text them. Well, it's crazy, more with the girl side than the men's side. The men's typically don't make their decisions till a little bit later. They kind of hold off in terms of, the women, they tend to, make their decisions a bit sooner. So I usually, with the women's side, I usually go very, very strong in the summer in terms of building those relationships and making sure, that Ranger, hopefully Ranger is always the right place. So usually when it comes to the fall part, I'm usually talking to a lot of the women recruits for the next fall. The men's here and there, but mainly the women's, just because I know that they usually tend to make their decisions earlier. So we tend to, get commits a lot sooner with the women's team. So that's why I turn to, text, of course, the in-staters. Here I usually tend to build relationships, text them. Every so often to ask them how they're doing, and of course go watch their games when I have a weekend off, which is very rare. But when I have a weekend off, I'll typically try to go down and watch them and just see how they're doing. And then of course the other players, but with the international side, it makes it a little bit easier just because it's all video, and video, you can watch it especially with your iPhone, when you're about to go to sleep or any time of the day. So it just makes it on the international side, it makes it a little bit flexible. But on the here, I try to manage the time, very good just because, it's like practice, practice, and then we have a game, and then we have practice, and then we have a game. So usually sometimes it's a bit hectic. So it gets a little crazy sometimes. So I
For
try to
sure.
maintain it.
Yeah, it's got to be tough with two teams. Well, when you're at an event and you're looking at players, what is it that makes up that hierarchy of things that you're looking for in a player, both on the field and off the field?
Yes, that's a great question. I usually players usually when I'm recruiting a player, I ask the players a lot of questions. I ask them a lot of questions. I like to get to know their mindset. I like to get to know what they're looking for, of course, in a college and what they're looking for in a soccer program. The one question I always ask them is, what are you looking to do in terms of soccer? The reason why I ask that question is, you know, if they're dedicated to the game, if they're really passionate about the game, if this is something that they want to at least try to pursue a career in. And to me, I'm very passionate. I have a lot. I love this. I wake up every day and I love what I do. And I want them to feel the same way, to wake up every single day, be motivated to go to practice, be motivated to do weights, be motivated to not only be a good player, but a good teammate. So, and I ask them questions on, what do they look for in teams? What is something that they really like when they join a team? And usually when they talk about, good environment, I like to be a good team player. That's usually how I know. In terms of the soccer side, um, this player is going to be a great fit for me, because it's going to show like, okay, good teammate, cares about the game, is looking to improve. In terms of school, if they're looking to get, I mean, of course, Ranger here, we're a community college. We have every degree you can think of. But in terms of school sizes, like, of course, we are a rural community college. We're a small community college. So asking if they would like to be in a setting to where, small classes, about 25 kids in a class, small size classes, be able to get a good professor to student ratio, so that way they can have closer relationships with their professors in terms of their academics, be able to get additional help. And Ranger here on the academic side, we have a lot of resources for kids. So I ask those questions on the academic side as well. So usually, if they look for all three of those, that's usually how I know it's going to be a good fit. So I think usually when I ask it, it helps a lot. And I would say on the international side, usually those kids are, just to be honest, they usually come in here ready to go. They're pretty motivated. And the relationships I've built with, internationally, there's specific people that I usually kind of go through. They know what I look for. They know what the type of player and the type of mentality that we look for. So I think it's been very helpful on the international side, because we do have a lot of great benefits on the international side, as well as the in-staters as well. So I think both American and both internationally, it's been very helpful. We're able to give, both of them great benefits and great resources to be successful, in terms of soccer and also in terms of the academics as well. So
Okay,
it's been great.
great. Well, in terms of roster size, is there a roster size for each team that you look to have each year that you find is ideal?
Yes, yes. I would say for the men's, I go a little bit more than the women's. I think for the men's, I usually try to go around 35 to 40 guys. The reason why I get that size is because we have also we have around 14. I think with scrimmages we have around 18 games. And sometimes we play, it'll be game, rest, play. So sometimes we need those additional numbers to help in terms of subs, in terms of, keeping fresh legs, in terms of creating also a competitive environment at practice, to where you have to earn your spot on the travel squad. But the one thing I do as well is those bottom 15 guys that, may not travel, that sometimes, they may not travel. I find them games as well. So I'll find around 3 or 4 games to where those guys can play. And the reason why I do that is so that way, of course, we're a 2 year and everyone needs somewhere to go after us. So that way, those 15 guys, I can help them build highlights, help if they can't make the travel squad, which is okay. I can get them games, and I also film their games. I film every game so that way they can create highlights. And that way, after their 2 years is here, they can also develop, but also have somewhere to go after us. In terms of the ladies, with the ladies, I usually have around, I try to keep around 27 to 30 girls on the roster. The reason I think with the girls, it's a little bit different. I don't have usually two teams. I usually just, they'll play 18 games and that's it. I think with the girls, I usually have around 3 keepers. So usually it'll be around 24 field players. So the one thing I do is just I love to keep it competitive at practice. I think that's also a good environment, great team chemistry, but a competitive environment to where now you're having to earn your spot. It's going to be one of those things to where, you know, if you're slacking off at practice or you think you've got it made, You don't. So I think it it doesn't it does it's a we don't complacency. It avoids complacency and we build consistent performance every single day.
Okay. Well, you talk about the moving on after the 2 years. So, talk to me a little bit about what that looks like, how players have done, where they've gone on to, kind of what is that process for both teams?
Yes, 100%. I would say in terms of the guys, we've had many guys move on to 4 years in all divisions, NAI, NCAA Division Two, Division One. So we have a lot of, of course, credibility. In terms of the guys right now, last year we had a very small sophomore class, so we had about I think six guys. I think all six of them went on to play on. I think one of them went to NCAA D2, two of them went NAI, and then I think the other one went NCAA D3. So everyone does move on. We usually make their highlights and we send them off to schools. I'll create an email for them and I'll send them to coaches. Of course, coaches that I have good relationships with, take a look at this kid. You know, you should bring him on a visit. And also with the class we have right now, we have about 15 to 18 sophomores. So we have a big sophomore class coming up in terms of the guys. I would say all these guys, we have all their games filmed. We probably won't start making highlights till after season. So usually after season, as soon as season's over, we start sending out those highlights, making sure not only are they good enough to play, but make sure their grades are in place as well. Because of course, NCAA, NAI is so different in terms of the rules. NCAA, you have to have your associate's degree. Like there's no questions asked. You have to have your associate's degree. You got to have your classes. You got to have all this academically to be able to play. And I think the one thing we've been able to do is been able to make sure they have all their schooling done as well. Um, and then with the guys, a few of them, I would say the sophomores, a few of the sophomore guys right now have a couple of D2 offers, no Division One offers yet, but I think we have two or three that have been looked at from NCAA Division Two. I think one of them's in the GLVC, so very good conference. And then with the women's, I think last year we only had around three girls that were sophomores, and all of them went to go play. One went NCAA D2, the other one in it, and last two went NAI. But this year we have about 12 sophomores. So a little bit bigger class. We probably going to have around, two girls going NCAA Division One. We've got one that's been getting looked at by a couple of NCAA Division Twos, and I think there'll be more offers coming as well. So I think usually it's just making sure, and we have meetings, making sure they're taking care of their grades because they can perform well all they want, but if they're not getting their schooling done and they're not being eligible for the NCAA, you know they're not going to be able to go to that level because I would say the majority of this sophomore class they all want to play. I'll be honest, a lot of them want to play NCAA Division One, which is I admire that because they have a drive to play at the highest, one of the highest levels. I think there's good players in every level, NAI, NCAA. So
Yeah,
I think they have that as well. So
good.
that's usually how we do our recruiting. Talk about their grades, talk about and I also tell them where I think they can play, where I think is a good fit, and make their highlights and make sure they're taking care of everything in terms of their academics as well.
Yeah, awesome. Well, let's talk a little bit more about the school. Folks probably not familiar with Ranger, so talk to us about Ranger. What is it that you find that's really great about the school? Maybe some things we wouldn't even know by going through the website.
Yes, 100%. So, I think what makes Rangers so significant in terms of academic is, of course, our small setting. We have a great relationship. Professors have a great relationship with students. Faculty have a great relationship with students. The one thing that really makes us significant as well is that we're also very accredited as a community college. What that means in terms of academics is that all their credits can transfer to any school in the nation. It transfers anywhere, no matter what, whether it's an Ivy League school, whether it's a private school or anywhere. It all transfers in terms of the academics. So the academic side, they're going to get a very good quality education. And we're also what we call a Hispanic Serving Institute College as well. So what that means as well is that that also helps a lot of the student athletes, students who in terms like they struggle with English or their first language is in English, we're a great resource to help them do that as well. So they have additional help in terms of tutoring, in terms of making sure they're successful in the classroom. We also have a great student success program as well, that also helps students that, you know, maybe they need help in the classroom or maybe they need one-on-one helps with tutors. We provide all of those resources for them in terms of helping them be successful, also helping them be able to be, um, great in terms of their academics. We have a lot of course, we have a lot of, we're small community. So the good thing about us is we also have good relationships with everyone. We have a great, our student success, our head department student success guy, Gabe Lewis. He does a great job of creating activities for students so that way they can stay busy. Of course, get everyone integrated with each other, get everyone to get to know each other. So it's a good icebreakers that he's always does in the beginning of the year, especially in August. So we have a lot of great benefits. Everything's on campus. You don't need a car. You can literally walk from your dorm to the classroom and you'll be there in 5 minutes. So it's something to where everything's close and you're not having to drive or you're not having to, drive a mile. So it's one of those things that's where, in terms of academic, the Ranger has been, we've been able to be very helpful to a lot of students who come here, whether it's internationally or in state wise.
Okay, awesome. Well, let's take it back a week or two when you're still in the heart of that conference season. Kind of walk me through what does a typical week look like for a player in terms of when are classes, meals, games, practice times, all that kind of stuff.
Yes, 100%. I would say definitely. We usually have about 2 games a week. I try to keep it 2 games a week. We usually play usually Wednesdays and usually Tuesdays or Fridays or Wednesdays or Saturdays. Usually player Monday we have training. I think the guys will usually have training at from 2 to 4, and the girls will usually have training from 4:30 to 6. Usually from 8 a.m. to around 1. They have, of course, classes. They have breakfast and lunch in between, and then they come to training. Usually on Monday, we usually, because we have a day to prepare for the game on Wednesday, we're usually going for about 2 hours, working on things we need to improve on, and focusing on what we need to do to get better, um, and really getting after it. Usually, in terms of Tuesday, is more of a tactical session, talking about the other team, the opponent, what they struggle with, and what we can do to exploit them, and what are their weaknesses are, and work on that, to build up to the game on Wednesday. And usually on Tuesday, usually the day before games, I give all the players a curfew. So make sure that, just to make sure everyone's taking care of business, not only on the field, but off the field, making sure players are, not out late, not out doing anything, just focusing, of course, focusing on their classes, but also focusing on the game Wednesday, especially in the conference season when everything's very intense and everything, we're trying to hit our goals and our objectives. So usually Wednesday we play. Usually the day after we'll do a recovery. And then if we have a game on Saturday, Friday, usually, yeah, when the day after the game, we'll usually do recovery. And then the day after, we'll probably do film, go over film and do a light training over the opponent, what they struggle with, you know, what they're good at, what they struggle with, and be able to, see what they're up against. So that way we can give ourselves the best opportunity to be successful at the end of the game. That's usually how it goes. The kids usually have classes from 8 a.m. to around 2 p.m., 1:30. So we're able to work with classes as well as, practice. Every Thursday, the kids will have study hall. So they have to meet at the library at 8 p.m., from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. I do grade checks like every 2 to 3 weeks to make sure they're passing their grades, make sure they're taking care of business. And the ones who aren't passing their grades, they have to do extra study hall. So they have to go to study hall twice instead of once. Just because I usually tell them it's a solution, not a punishment. We just want to make sure that, after your time here at Ranger, that you're going to be able, to give yourself the most opportunities as possible and to set you up for success as well.
No, makes sense. Well, let's talk a little bit more, about the soccer side of things with the team. So, yeah, what in terms of staff, what staff do you have that help out with the teams, as well as maybe support staff like trainers, other coaches, or other athletic department staff that help out that's involved with the program?
Yes, 100%. So we have a really good trainer. Her name is Kylie. She does a fantastic job taking care of the players, making sure the players are healthy. I would say I only have our athletic director, Scott Norwood. He does a great job, helping out with the games, making sure everything gets set up, in terms of, having music on, having the PA system on when we're getting ready to play a home game. I only have one assistant coach for two teams. His name's Ross Anderson. He has been a fantastic for me. I would say, we work really well together. We've got the same mindset. He's, we're basically the same in terms of, you know, what we strive to be, and what we want to do always at the end of the season. He usually
Okay,
he helps
great.
out a lot.
So, in terms of style of play, what is it how is it that you like to play? What should players expect from that aspect?
Yes, 100%. So definitely how we like to play is very possession oriented. Love to play from the back. Love to keep the ball very well. I like my players very technical, very good in tight spaces, be able to play in between the lines. Of course, create overloads, um, but also be able to defend very well. Also, good transitioning from in possession to out of possession. I think that's what I also hit on a lot is, be very good defensively as well as offensively. So I think that's one thing we really pride ourselves on. This year we scored around, I think 60 goals this year. So, and gave up 7 or 8. So it was just, a great year defensively, but we were able to score a lot of goals this year. We created very well. We had two players that scored 15 goals, and one, I think out of our three forwards, two of them scored 15 goals and one of them scored 9 goals. So, and then our attacking mid, she had around 15 assists, and then the other one had around 8. So we usually play a 4-2-3-1. This year we played a 4-2-3-1. Um, Usually one of the holding mids plays a little bit higher in possession. So sometimes it looks like a 4-3-3 with two attacking mids. I would say in terms of the boys, also, very, very good. We win our first 8 games, the boys side did, without giving up a goal. So we won our first 8 games without giving up a goal. Outscored opponents, very well, won some very tight games. So, very good in possession, but very good defensively as well. Both sides done very well defensively and offensively. So we were able to, you know, do well in terms of in possession, out of possession. So, but it's the same style. I would say in terms of certain games, we tend to switch it up. So I would tell you the 4-2-3-1. Both teams played that formation, but in terms of certain games that we play, we'll change up the formation. And if we think a team, honestly, if we think that this is a game that we're not going to have a lot of the ball, how can we utilize to be more successful? So we'll play on the counter attack. We'll sit back and defend, know that we're in this game, we're not going to have 80% of the time, we're not going to have possession, and then look to counter quickly. So I would say in terms of some games, we tend to switch it up sometimes. So, but usually we're 4-2-3-1, 4-3-3. Love to keep the ball, play possession, play out of the back, play in between the lines, but also transition well defensively and work on that a lot as well.
Awesome. All right, Coach. Well, you've given us a bunch of information. I really appreciate it. Going to leave you with one last question, and that is if you had one piece of advice for anybody going through this college recruiting process at this time, what would that be?
Yes, 100%. I would say, make yourself as marketable as possible. Send emails, follow up with emails. Coaches are very busy. They have a lot of emails. So it's never bad to follow up. Get yourself out there as much as possible and know that when you go to a program that you're there for a reason. And wherever you go in and you feel, that you may, whether you're the best player or whether, you're the player that has to work as hard as others, make sure you're there for a reason and be able to work as hard as possible and have a good mindset about it. And I think if you do that, like, you know, you'll be able to enjoy a great college career. And I would say one thing is practice. You can never practice. You can never, you know, too much practice isn't bad. So I would say practice as well.
Can't argue with that. Well, Coach, really
Yeah.
appreciate it. Thank you so much. Good luck in the next round with the boys, and hopefully you'll get to hang a banner there soon. All right.
All right. Thank you, Matt. Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you.